terrifying truth. Artificial intelligence could destroy humanity. Eliza Yadkowski thinks that it's time that we completely shut down AI development. We are going to have something on our hands that we cannot control and might destroy us. He argues that creating a superhuman AI without adequate preparation could lead to the extinction of all life on Earth. The problem is, if we don't develop AI that genuinely cares for sentient and human life, we're at risk of the AI using us for whatever its own purpose is. So the big challenge lies in building an AI with precision and preparation, which we currently don't have. And the current state of AI is simply not prepared for the potential consequences of a superhuman AI. We lack a comprehensive understanding of these systems, and there's no general plan in place to ensure our survival. He says that many researchers privately tell him that we're headed towards catastrophe, but feel like they're unable to stop the race towards more and more artificial intelligence. Artificial consciousness. Are we creating sentient machines? So will machine intelligence ever be conscious? You know, like have internal feelings and internal subjective experiences like the way we do? I mean, it's a hot debate among experts, but here's two theories that suggest true artificial intelligence will lead to artificial consciousness. The first is called integrated integration theory, or ITT for short. And it takes an approach to explaining consciousness through a system's intrinsic causal power. So it measures how much causal power a mechanism has, something like a neuron or a circuit. And the greater a system's integrated information, the more conscious it is, so a sliding scale of consciousness. The second is called the Global Neuronal Workspace, or GNW for short. And this one emphasizes the brain's function. So GNW theory would suggest that a simulated brain would be completely conscious, whereas ITT will argue that the intrinsic causal powers just can't be simulated, and they're a necessary component for consciousness. And they might both very well be wrong, but it's good to start the conversation somewhere, because someday, probably very soon, we need to tackle the very thorny issue of if a machine can be conscious. And if so, how are we going to extend legal and political rights? Is AI capable of inner thoughts? The truth revealed. Koff Skivers wrote a piece on Medium. Highlights how some philosophers think that whenever we speak something out loud, we actually contaminate the inner expression. And because that's how we have to communicate, it makes it impossible to express the true reality of what's inside of us. Which begs the question, does artificial intelligence understand the difference between outside text and inside text? Does it understand the latent space where it has dimensionality to all of the words that it's learned? If it does that mean it's capable of thinking on its own? And even though we can change the internal configurations of some of these large language models by fine-tuning the rewards, in the same way that any parent who's tempted a kid with candy to behave knows, there seems to be a limitation to the complexity that we can teach this way. Simple rewards to encapsulate acceptable speech or a value system is probably just impossible. No human's written a constitution that's been perfect yet. So he argues that while artificial intelligence might raise the floor of mankind, it also might lower the ceiling. He asks if large language models is just us reinventing the Babel Tower, engineering a large language model to do all of our speaking and science, but accidentally crushing the pure expression. Can sleep stop AI's memory wipeout? The surprising solution. So you know how artificial neural networks tend to forget what they've learned when they're presented with new data that opposes the first? By the way, that's technically called catastrophic forgetting. But on the other hand, our brains are constantly learning. They work best when you get more training data, or just live life and then go to sleep and let those memories consolidate. Researchers took a cue from this and they started using spiking networks inside of neural networks to explore the phenomenon of catastrophic forgetting and see if you can do something like when humans sleep to the network to keep it remembering. And they found that when you mix new task learning with sleep-like activity, it helps maintain the network's memory representations and prevents the old memories from being forgotten. Now this happens because sleep replays old memory traces without using the old task data explicitly. So in this case, they use that spiking neural network model, which simulates how the brain processes sensory information, and then added a layer of reinforcement learning on top of it, and found that sleep-like activity optimizes the memory representations. So put your neural networks to bed at night, people. They need their sleep. AI's unpredictability. How moral self-correction can save us. Large language models, LLMs like ChatGPT, have shown surprising emergent properties as they've grown in complexity. Now these models are designed to predict text, but they've demonstrated unexpected abilities like solving math problems, detecting emojis, and even running simple code. And researchers are racing, aka panicking, to go figure out what other kind of emergent abilities these systems might exhibit, and then try to find out why they occur, because that kind of unpredictability might not be good for us. And some of this emergent behavior has what's called zero-shot or few-shot learning, meaning it's really hard to predict ahead of time because it takes just such a specific query to trigger it. There's still a lot of uncertainty about how these models work and how to predict their unpredictability. Now, research is going into how to try to counteract some of these emergent properties, and one solution is to use what's called moral correction to make the models more helpful, honest, and harmless. There's definitely a lot of learning to do, and it needs to be done as fast as possible. From LSTM to Transformer, the rise of AI self-attention and reflection. Hey, did you know that asking GPT-4 to reflect on why it was wrong can kick the quality of your response up 30%? Large-scale natural language systems like GPT and Google's Palm are really good at understanding tasks, even in unfamiliar settings. But they still face challenges responding with the optimal response. Researchers came up with an interesting way to help these kind of models learn from their own trial and error. They created a self-reflective large language model called Reflection, and the results were impressive. It showed a significant improvement in decision-making and knowledge-related tasks. And I find it interesting because reflection and self-attention are the story of AI coming to fruition. LSTM, like long short-term memory and reinforcement learning, all the way up to building embedded curiosity. And of course, the transformers, the T and GPT, is a system of self-attention to the input data. So it just goes to show that a little bit of self-attention helps all of us. Healing or heartache, the debate over AI-assisted funerals. So in China, there's some funeral companies now using AI to create lifelike avatars of the deceased. So either beautifully or tragically, it allows the loved ones to keep communicating with them. Programs like ChatGPT for text and Midjourney for images can pretty much recreate an experience. Train it on a person's data, throw in a voice synthesis, and you've got something that people can connect with. And while some do find comfort in interacting with these AI avatars, others warn that reviving a loved one could be problematic. But despite the concerns, most of these funeral companies say that they're getting positive feedback. And even more companies are starting to explore how we could use similar technology to revive a pet for people who have lost their favorite animal. One human, one vote. Worldcoin's fight for decentralized power. So in a future where anything and everything could be generated by AI, how will people prove that their digital trail was actually done by a person? Cryptocurrency, that's how. Worldcoin is an ambitious project focused on equitable distribution and decentralized governance. It uses proof of personhood, a POP mechanism, to ensure that every person can only register once, which prevents fraud. It helps you know what you've created digitally, and it means that you only get one share of the free money they deliver. Now, the primary goal is to make sure that the cryptocurrency is accessible to everyone, regardless of nationality, gender, race, or economic means. And to achieve this, Worldcoin plans to distribute all of these cryptocurrency tokens through a universal basic income. Every person can prove that they're a person once, and then you distribute money to all of them equally, which should redistribute wealth more fairly and counteract the concentration of money that's likely to go to the big AI winners. Plus, Worldcoin's POP mechanism, that proof of personhood, is great for a democracy. One trusted human, one trusted vote.